So apparently the NRL has a culture problem. Players have abusive attitudes toward women. Why? Because some of them are having group sex with women. I know, shocking. Who would have thunk it? You see, some of the players even refer to women that participate in such encounters as gangers, short for women that engage in gangbangs, I assume. But why is this such a problem? Were the women forced into it? Were they tricked into thinking they were having a one-on-one encounter and then coerced into group sex? Well, no. It turns out these women are willing participants in these encounters. So what is the real problem then? Well, there is none, unless of course you're a new age Puritan feminist that sees toxic masculinity and female victimhood around every corner, like Catherine Lumby, who's been volunteering her services to the NRL to reform the toxic culture. She says that group sex is abhorrent to many people, but it is legal. Some women may decide to consensually participate. We need to remember not to shame those women. And maybe you could remember not to shame the men that consensually participate. However, it can be risky when group sex happens. Where you have strong, powerful men, a consensual activity can quickly devolve into an abusive male bonding exercise. So some women may decide to consensually participate. I'm sorry, but are you alleging sexual assault or some other criminal action here? Because nowhere in this story are such allegations being made by any women involved. So where's all this faux outrage coming from? Well, in one of those consensual encounters, a woman got pregnant and had a child. And now she's decided to reveal all about the NRL's group sex culture. And we'll come back to why she felt the need to do that a little later. The modern sex culture among star football players and women can today be revealed after a stripper lifted the lid on her relationship with a former West Tigers player. After meeting on Instagram and messaging on Facebook and WhatsApp, current New Zealand Warriors NRL star Bodine Thompson and Belinda Medlin arranged alcohol-fueled hookups where they offered each other's friends up for orgies at their Sydney apartments and plush hotels around the country. Do you see a crime yet? Surely there must be something. Let's keep going. In May 2015, he sent a picture of a teammate and wrote, "This guy is keen to F.you. Me and the guys from the Gold Coast will be at a hotel and Brighton Les Sands and are keen to F.you again." Maybe his autofill wasn't working on the F words. Miss Medlin later proposed her own friend for sex with an NRL player. "I'd like to watch you do naughty things to my friend," she wrote. "I'll hit her up." Miss Medlin also offers to ask another dancer at her work to join herself and Thompson in bed, and she asked Thompson to organise a teammate for her friend. He sends photos of his mates for her to choose. Ms. Medlin said group sex sessions were now part of how sports stars bonded. It's about power, fast cash, fit bodies, and getting any woman they like, she said. They don't want to let the team down. I must have missed the part where Ms. Medlin is a social psychologist by day and only moonlights as a stripper by night. To me, and I suggest most normies, it looks like two consenting adults engaging in perfectly legal activities, or in other words, no one else's business. But Miss Medlin has decided to make it other people's business and pull back the curtain on this toxic culture. In another article, she says, "There's a pack mentality among NRL players," the 35-year-old said. "They think they're rock stars who can do what they want until it goes wrong. We were never boyfriend and girlfriend, but Bodine is a role model to men and young boys." And you're not a role model for young girls? A former Penthouse model turned stripper and now single mother? No, she's a victim. At least that's how she's portraying herself, and the media are happy to oblige.
I was not in a very great... I was in a vulnerable mood that day, having broken up with my boyfriend.
Yeah.
And I made that visit out to Pullman's Hotel at the Olympic Park.
Yeah.
It was very sneaky. I had to meet him at an ice creamery. I had to get the key from him there. I was told to sneak past his coaches, and it was scary. It was very nerve-wracking.
She was feeling vulnerable, and it was nerve-wracking. I guess she can't be held responsible for anything that happened then. So the short story is Medlin became pregnant after a sexual encounter with Thompson in September 2015, in which one of his teammates watched on. Oh, and Medlin claims that she did not use a condom because Thompson insisted that they don't. So obviously, as a victim with no agency, she has no choice but to comply. She then gave birth in May 2016. Thompson was present for the birth, and they agreed that he would pay $500 a month in child support. Well, it seems Miss Medlin is not happy with that arrangement now.
Yes.
What's the outcome you're hoping for?
This has put me in a lot of financial debt. I think that anybody who's had children would know how much they cost, and I tried so hard to cover those financial costs on my own with the minimal input from Bodine, and I'm hoping that by him being accountable for this now, he will take his part financially, physically, with his son's life.
So a cynical observer might think that Ms. Medlin is just after a bit of cash. After all, she's 35 years old now, past her prime, looking for some financial security. And Thompson is a professional rugby league player, reportedly earning $260,000 a year. But surely a woman wouldn't do that kind of thing. Well, according to Thompson, the cynics would be right. Warrior Bodine Thompson hits back at group sex allegations with extortion claims. Here's part of his statement. Although I do not wish to give any more oxygen to this story, I believe it is important to put the facts on the table. Ms. Medlin approached me in June 2017, threatening that she would expose this story unless I gave her a sum of $50,000. I refused to pay her this money on the basis that I was already paying her child support as assessed by the Child Support Agency. I love my son and I have been striving to have a relationship with him. Ms. Medlin has made this difficult. However, I continue to seek avenues to pursue having a proper relationship with my son. I continue to meet all of my financial obligations to my son and work hard to ensure his future. Well, colour me surprised. So what to make of all Medlin's claims that she just wants Bodine to be part of her son's life?
Why do you want so hard for it to work with a stranger?
Because my son needs a dad. He needs a man in his life. And I feel that Bodine should want that too. He should want to know his son. This is his offspring. This is his blood. Regardless of how we created him.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree that your son needs a dad in his life. But I think what's more important to you is that you have a sugar daddy in your life. I think an attractive mid-30s woman like yourself could easily find a man, but perhaps not one as well-heeled as Mr. Thompson. So let's recap here. A night of unprotected casual sex led to a baby, and the father, Mr. Thompson, pitched in and met his obligations as required by the Child Support Agency. But now Ms. Medlin, dealing with the reality of having to support a child, being a little over the hill, and not being able to partake in the adventurous nightlife she once used to, thinks she's entitled to more. And because her extortion demands weren't being met, she's now gone to the press to engage in that time-honoured female tradition of shaming tactics and playing the victim. And as I said previously, the media has been only too willing to play along with the narrative. Listen to this white knight. 3AW radio commentator Justin Smith told Channel 7 he fears what really goes on behind the closed doors of NRL clubs if stories like Medlin's continue to be made public. It makes me absolutely sick, he said. If that's what comes to the surface and to the media, what the hell is going on in these locker rooms? Well, you probably would say that, wouldn't you? There's no chance you'd ever be invited to participate in group sex with an attractive woman. And then there's female sports commentator Mel McLaughlin, who almost had a moment of clarity. It's an ugly thing if you're the NRL. You'd go, what more can we do? We educate. They're not children. We have to educate them to respect them. How hard is it just to respect women? Don't see them as objects, but the girls as well. And it's not all girls, but let's say these girls are actively involved in the texting and maybe enjoying it. You have to be accountable as well. Maybe enjoying it? It wouldn't be happening if these girls didn't want it to. And how hard is it for women not to see NRL players as sex objects with an ATM attached? No one wants to say it, but the reason these guys have group sex with attractive women is because they are the alpha males. They are the modern-day gladiators, young professional athletes in the prime of their physical lives, and they're well-paid ones at that. If you want to shut down the group sex pack mentality, then stop doing it, ladies. But if Miss Medlin's experience is anything to go by, it appears there are plenty of women who are quite happy to consent to group sex. And if that's the case, it's no one's business, and the Puritans should go have a lie down on their fainting couches. Now, Thompson is obviously a bit of an idiot for not using contraception. He already has a child to another woman. But did anyone ask him whether he wanted to be a father? No, of course not, because it goes without saying that he doesn't get a say in it. It's the woman's decision, and that's why we need to legalise financial abortions. Well, amongst all the faux outrage, one journalist wasn't falling for the victim narrative. Here's Corinne Barraclough on the Bolt Report last night.
Is she really the victim and the NRL sex culture the villain here?
No, absolutely not. And I don't actually think that it's helping women or women's causes to pretend that she is a victim. She's not a victim. This is nothing even to do with a culture of the NRL. This is consenting adults. And the point of equality and sexual liberation is that every individual takes responsibility for themselves. She made a choice. She now lives with the consequences of those choices. It's not fair to pretend that he ever agreed to be a father. This wasn't a relationship. There's a difference between hotel hookups, which is basically what this was. This was never a relationship. This was never laying the foundations of a family. And we need to remember that's what marriage is supposedly all about. It's the foundation of a family. It's ethics, it's shared values, shared beliefs. It's entirely different to hotel hookups, which is what this was.
Now, Bolt is caught up in his own form of puritanism here. He's more concerned with the fact that a man that engages in group sex is not fit for fatherhood than he is about a woman playing the victim card and not taking responsibility for her actions. But Corinne Barraclough is not going to let her off the hook that easily.
If there is a cultural problem, I don't think it's the NRL. I think it's a wider cultural issue where we can have a woman having group sex with a friend, not even really a boyfriend, as you point out, conceiving her child when she has sex with her partner while his mate watches, and now it's just this surprise that he didn't turn out to be a good father. I mean, does that surprise you that he's not a good dad?
He never agreed to be a father. He never put on the table that he was going to be a dad, good or not. That was never up for discussion. I actually find it really shocking and appalling that women play this card. Yes, she has a child. From what I've read today and from what I see from reports, he is paying child support. He is doing the right thing from what I see. But this was a football player with a lot of money, and I think it's an opportunist, and I don't think it's helpful in the wider conversation. As I said, sexual liberation means that women can have as much sex as they want. They're totally entitled to have as much sex with whoever they want, as many as they want, as often as they want. But then they cannot come creeping out and pretend that that man ever had a conversation and agreed to fatherhood, because he clearly didn't.
So is Ms. Medlin concerned about her son having a dad, or about the financial support a dad can provide? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you next time.